As a retired lawyer, I thought I had seen it all. The lies, the deceit, the greed that could twist even the closest of relationships. But when my own daughter and son-in-law tried to pressure me into signing over my property rights, I realized that I had underestimated the depths of human cruelty. They thought they could take advantage of my age and my grief, thought they could manipulate me into giving up everything I had worked so hard to build. But they had forgotten one thing. I was Albert Reed, one of the sharpest legal minds of my generation, and I would not go down without a fight. Using every trick and strategy I had learned over my long career, I set out to outmaneuver them at every turn, to force them to face the consequences of their own actions. This is the story of how I fought back against the ultimate betrayal, and proved that even in the darkest of times, justice will always prevail. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. Chapter 1. The day began like any other, with the soft glow of morning light filtering through the curtains of my bedroom. I lay there for a moment, listening to the gentle chirping of the birds outside my window, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face. It had been 3 years since my beloved wife Elizabeth had passed away, and not a day went by that I didn't feel her absence like a physical ache in my chest. She had been my rock, my partner in every sense of the word, the one person who had always stood by me through thick and thin. And now she was gone, leaving me to navigate the twilight of my years alone. I sighed and pushed myself out of bed, wincing slightly as my joints creaked in protest. At 74 years old, I was no spring chicken anymore, but I refused to let age slow me down. I had always prided myself on my sharp mind and my indomitable spirit, the qualities that had made me one of the most respected lawyers in the city. I made my way downstairs, the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafting up from the kitchen. My daughter, Samantha, was already there, sitting at the table with a mug cradled in her hands. She looked up as I entered, a tight smile on her face. "Morning, Dad," she said, her voice a little too bright, a little too cheerful. "How did you sleep?" I eyed her warily as I poured myself a cup of coffee. Samantha had been acting strange lately, more distant and evasive than usual. I had chalked it up to the stress of her job as a real estate agent, but something about her demeanor this morning set off alarm bells in my head. "Fine," I said, taking a sip of the hot liquid. "What brings you here so early?" She hesitated for a moment, her fingers tapping nervously against the ceramic of her mug. "Actually, Dad, there's something I wanted to talk to you about. Something important." I raised an eyebrow, my instincts as a lawyer kicking into high gear. "Oh? And what might that be?" She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself for what she was about to say. "It's about the house, Dad. And the property." I felt a chill run down my spine, a sense of foreboding washing over me. The house and the property had been in our family for generations, passed down from father to son for over a century. It was more than just a piece of real estate. It was a symbol of our heritage, our legacy. And now, it seemed, my daughter had designs on it. "What about the house?" I asked, my voice carefully neutral. She leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of greed and desperation. "Dad, I know this is hard to hear, but it's time to face facts. You're not getting any younger, and the house is too big for you to manage on your own. It's time to start thinking about the future." I felt a flicker of anger spark to life in my chest, but I kept my expression calm. "And what exactly are you suggesting, Samantha?" She licked her lips, her gaze darting around the room as if searching for the right words. "I'm suggesting that you sign over the property to me and David. We can take care of everything, the maintenance, the upkeep, the bills. You won't have to worry about a thing." I stared at her, my mind reeling with the implications of her words. She wanted me to give up my home, my legacy, everything that I had worked so hard to build and preserve. And for what? So that she and her husband could profit from my loss? I took a deep breath, fighting to keep my temper in check. "Samantha, I appreciate your concern, but I'm perfectly capable of managing my own affairs. The house stays with me." Her face hardened, a glint of steel entering her eyes. "Dad, you're not thinking clearly. You're too old to be living alone in this big old house. What if something happens to you? What if you fall and hurt yourself? I bristled at her condescending tone, at the way she spoke to me as if I were a dild. I'm not an invalid, Samantha. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. She leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed over her chest. Fine. If you won't listen to reason, then I guess we'll have to do this the hard way. I felt a chill run down my spine at her words, at the cold, calculating look in her eyes. I had seen that look before, in the eyes of countless opponents across the courtroom. It was the look of someone who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted, no matter who they had to hurt in the process. And now, it seemed, my own daughter had turned that look on me. I stood up, my coffee forgotten on the table. I think it's time for you to leave, Samantha. I have nothing more to say on this matter. She rose to her feet, her lips pressed into a thin line. This isn't over, Dad. You can't avoid this forever. With that, she turned on her heel and stalked out of the room, slamming the front door behind her with enough force to rattle the windows. I sank back into my chair, my heart heavy with the weight of betrayal. I had always known that Samantha had a selfish streak, a tendency to put her own needs and desires above those of others. But I had never imagined that she would stoop to this level, that she would try to manipulate and coerce me into giving up everything I held dear. And yet, as I sat there in the silence of my kitchen, I knew that I could not let her win. I was Albert Reed, one of the sharpest legal minds of my generation. I had faced down countless opponents in the courtroom, had fought for justice and truth with every fiber of my being, and I would not let my own daughter, my own flesh and blood, defeat me now. With a sense of grim determination, I pushed myself to my feet and made my way to my study. I had work to do, strategies to plan, and maneuvers to execute. I would not go down without a fight, would not let Samantha and her husband take what was rightfully mine. For I was a lawyer, a warrior of the courtroom. And I would use every trick and tactic in my arsenal to protect what was mine, to force my daughter to face the consequences of her own greed and betrayal. The battle had begun, and I would not rest until justice was served, no matter how long it took, no matter what I had to sacrifice in the process. I was Albert Reed, and I would not be broken. Please let me know if you would like me to proceed with Chapter 2, or if you have any feedback on The Hook and Chapter 1. Retry N. You are great. Continue Chapter 2. Edit. Chapter 2. The next few days passed in a blur of activity and planning. I threw myself into the task of fortifying my defenses, of building a legal bulwark that would withstand any assault my daughter and her husband could launch against me. I spent long hours in my study, poring over old case files and legal precedents, searching for any loophole or strategy that could give me an edge in the coming battle. I consulted with my old colleagues and friends in the legal community, seeking their advice and expertise on matters of property law and estate planning. And through it all, I couldn't shake the sense of betrayal that hung over me like a dark cloud, the bitter taste of my daughter's treachery lingering in the back of my throat. I had always known that Samantha had a selfish streak, a tendency to put her own needs and desires above those of others. But I had never imagined that she would go this far, that she would try to manipulate and coerce me into giving up my home, my legacy, everything that I had worked so hard to build and preserve. It was a bitter pill to swallow, a harsh reality that shook me to my very core. But I refused to let it break me, refused to let the pain and the anger consume me. I had to stay focused, had to keep my wits about me if I was going to win this fight. And so, day after day, I worked tirelessly to shore up my position, to lay the groundwork for the legal battle that I knew was coming. I drafted documents and filed paperwork, set up trusts and contingencies that would ensure that my wishes were carried out, no matter what tricks Samantha and her husband might try to pull. But even as I worked, even as I plotted and planned and strategized, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that there was more to this situation than met the eye. And then, one day, I received a phone call that changed everything. It was from an old friend of mine, a fellow lawyer named Jack who had retired a few years back. He had been doing some digging, he said, and had stumbled across some information that he thought I needed to know. "Al," he said, his voice tight with concern, "I don't know how to tell you this, but I think your daughter and her husband are up to something. Something bad. I felt a chill run down my spine at his words, a sense of dread washing over me. What do you mean, Jack? What have you found out? He hesitated for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. I've been doing some research into David's background, and I've uncovered some things that don't add up. There are gaps in his employment history, discrepancies in his financial records, and then there's the matter of his previous marriage. I frowned, my mind racing with the implications of Jack's words. David had always been a bit of a mystery to me, a charming but evasive man who seemed to have a knack for deflecting questions and avoiding scrutiny. But I had never imagined that he might be hiding something sinister, something that could threaten my very livelihood. What about his previous marriage? I asked, my voice tight with tension. Jack sighed, the sound heavy with resignation. It ended badly, Al. Very badly. There were allegations of abuse, of financial misconduct. David's ex-wife claimed that he had drained their joint accounts, had left her with nothing but debt and despair. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, a sickening realization dawning in the pit of my stomach. If David had done this before, if he had a history of manipulation and deceit, then what was to stop him from doing it again? What was to stop him from using my daughter, my own flesh and blood, as a pawn in his twisted game? There's more, Jack continued, his voice heavy with regret. I've been doing some digging into Samantha's finances as well, and I've found some irregularities. Large sums of money moving in and out of her accounts, transactions that don't seem to add up. I closed my eyes, my heart sinking with the weight of realization. My own daughter, the Dild I had raised and loved and cherished, was involved in something dark and dangerous, something that threatened to destroy everything I held dear. What do I do, Jack? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. How do I stop this? There was a long pause on the other end of the line, a moment of heavy silence. And then, Jack spoke, his voice filled with a quiet determination. You fight, Al. You fight with everything you have. You use every trick and tactic in your arsenal to protect what's yours, to force your daughter and her husband to face the consequences of their actions. I nodded, my jaw tight with resolve. He was right. I had to fight, had to stand up for myself and for the legacy that I had worked so hard to build. I couldn't let Samantha and David win, couldn't let them take what was rightfully mine. Thank you, Jack, I said, my voice steady with purpose. I won't forget this. I won't forget what you've done for me. He chuckled softly, the sound tinged with sadness. That's what friends are for, Al. That's what we do for each other. With that, he hung up, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my fears. But I was not afraid, not anymore. I was Albert Reed, one of the sharpest legal minds of my generation. I had faced down countless opponents in the courtroom, had fought for justice and truth with every fiber of my being. And I would not let my own daughter, my own son-in-law, defeat me now. With a sense of grim determination, I turned back to my work, to the task of building my case and fortifying my defenses. I had a battle to win, a war to wage against the forces of greed and deceit that threatened to tear my family apart. And I would not rest until justice was served, until the truth was brought to light and the guilty were held accountable for their crimes. For I was a warrior of the courtroom, a champion of the law, and I would fight to my last breath to protect what was mine, to preserve the legacy that I had spent a lifetime building. No matter how long it took, no matter what I had to sacrifice in the process. I was Albert Reed, and I would not be broken. Please let me know if you would like me to proceed with Chapter 3, or if you have any feedback on Chapter 2. Retry N, you are great. Continue Chapter 3, edit, Chapter 3. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity and preparation. I threw myself into the task of building my case, of gathering the evidence and the ammunition that I would need to take on Samantha and David in court. I worked tirelessly, poring over financial records and legal documents, piecing together the puzzle of their deceit and manipulation. I called in favors from old colleagues and friends, enlisting their help in uncovering the truth behind David's shadowy past and Samantha's suspicious financial dealings. And through it all, I couldn't shake the sense of betrayal that hung over me like a dark cloud. the bitter taste of my own daughter's treachery lingering in the back of my throat. But I refused to let it break me, refused to let the pain and the anger consume me. I had to stay focused, had to keep my wits about me if I was going to win this fight. And so, day after day, I worked and planned and strategized, building a case that was as airtight as a drum, a legal fortress that would withstand any assault that Samantha and David could launch against me. And then, finally, the day of reckoning arrived. It was a warm, sunny morning in early September, the kind of day that seemed to promise new beginnings and fresh starts. I arrived at the courthouse early, my briefcase heavy with the weight of the evidence I had gathered, my heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and dread. Samantha and David were already there, seated at the defendant's table with their high-priced lawyer, a slick, silver-tongued man named Richard, who had a reputation for playing dirty. They looked confident, almost smug, as if they had already won the battle before it had even begun. But I knew better, knew that I had an ace up my sleeve that they could never have anticipated. As the judge called the court to order and the proceedings began, I felt a sense of calm settle over me, a quiet certainty that I was doing the right thing, that I was fighting for something bigger than myself. And then, it was my turn to speak. I rose to my feet, my voice steady and clear as I addressed the court. I laid out my case with precision and clarity, presenting the evidence of Samantha and David's deceit and manipulation with a cool, dispassionate air. I showed the financial records that proved their embezzlement, the documents that revealed the depth of their greed and corruption. I called witnesses who testified to David's history of abuse and misconduct, to the trail of broken lives and shattered dreams that he had left in his wake. And through it all, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness, a deep and abiding grief for the daughter I had lost, for the family that had been torn apart by lies and betrayal. But I also felt a sense of righteous anger, a burning desire to see justice done, to make Samantha and David pay for their crimes and their cruelty. And as I delivered my closing arguments, as I looked out at the sea of faces in the courtroom, I knew that I had done everything in my power to make that happen, to ensure that the truth would prevail and that the guilty would be held accountable. The verdict came swiftly, a resounding victory that left Samantha and David reeling in shock and disbelief. The judge found them guilty on all counts, ordering them to pay restitution and serve time in prison for their crimes. As the bailiff led them away in handcuffs, I felt a sense of relief wash over me, a feeling of vindication and closure that I had been seeking for so long. But I also felt a sense of sadness, a deep and abiding grief for the family that I had lost, for the daughter who had once been the light of my life. I knew that things would never be the same between us, that the wounds of betrayal and deceit would never fully heal all. But I also knew that I had done what I had to do, that I had fought for what was right and just, no matter the cost. And as I walked out of the courthouse that day, my head held high and my heart heavy with the weight of all that had transpired, I knew that I had emerged stronger and wiser for the experience, that I had found a new sense of purpose and meaning in the aftermath of the storm. For I was Albert Reed, a warrior of the courtroom, a champion of justice and truth. And I had faced down the darkness and emerged unbroken and unafraid, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and resolve. In the weeks and months that followed, I threw myself into the task of rebuilding my life, of picking up the pieces of my shattered world and starting anew. I sold the house that had once been the center of my universe, the home that held so many memories of love and laughter and joy. I moved to a smaller place, a cozy apartment in the heart of the city that suited my needs and my lifestyle. I reconnected with old friends and colleagues, people who had known me before the betrayal and the heartbreak, who had always seen the best in me and believed in my strength and my resilience. And slowly but surely, I began to heal, to find a new sense of purpose and meaning in the aftermath of the storm. I took on new cases and new clients, using my skills and my expertise to fight for those who had been wronged, to seek justice and truth in a world that often seemed so dark and so cruel. And through it all, I held fast to the lessons that I had learned, to the wisdom and the strength that had been forged in the fires of adversity and pain. I knew that life was precious and fleeting, that every moment was a gift to be cherished and celebrated. And I knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter what storms I might have to weather, I had the power and the resilience to face them head-on, to emerge stronger and wiser and more alive than ever before. For I was Albert Reed, a survivor, a fighter, a man who had stared down the darkness and emerged unbroken and unafraid. And as long as I had breath in my body and fire in my soul, I would continue to fight for what was right, to seek justice and truth in a world that so desperately needed it. For that was my calling, my purpose, my reason for being. And I would not rest until I had fulfilled it, until I had left the world a little broader and a little better than I had found it. With a smile on my face and a song in my heart, I stepped out into the world, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead with open arms and an open heart. For the best was yet to come, and the road ahead was full of promise and possibility. And I could not wait to see where it would lead me next. Please let me know if you would like me to proceed with Chapter 4, or if you have any feedback on Chapter 3. Retry N. You are great. Continue Chapter 4. Edit. Chapter 4. The years passed in a blur of activity and purpose, a whirlwind of cases and clients, of battles fought and victories won. I threw myself into my work with a passion and a dedication that I had never known before, pouring all of my energy and my expertise into the task of seeking justice and truth in a world that so often seemed to be lacking in both. I took on the toughest cases, the most challenging clients, the ones that other lawyers had deemed hopeless or unwinnable. I fought for the wrongfully accused and the unjustly convicted, for the victims of corruption and abuse, for the voiceless and the powerless who had been forgotten by a system that so often seemed to favor the rich and the powerful. And through it all, I found a sense of purpose and meaning that I had never known before, a deep and abiding satisfaction in the knowledge that I was making a difference, that I was using my skills and my talents to help those who needed it most. But even as I reveled in my newfound sense of purpose, even as I felt the warmth and the joy of a life spent in service to others, I couldn't shake the sense of loneliness that sometimes crept up on me in the quiet moments, the feeling that something was still missing from my life. I had my work, of course, and the satisfaction that came with it. But I also knew that there was more to life than just the pursuit of justice, that there were other things, more precious and more valuable, that made life worth living. Things like love and companionship, like the warmth and the comfort of a family to call my own. And so, with a sense of trepidation and excitement, I began to open myself up to the possibility of new relationships, of finding someone to share my life with in the autumn of my years. I went on dates and attended social events, putting myself out there in a way that I hadn't done in decades. I met women from all walks of life, each with their own stories and their own dreams, their own hopes and fears and desires. And slowly but surely, I began to find a connection with one of them, a spark of something special that I hadn't felt in longer than I could remember. Her name was Emma, and she was everything that I had ever dreamed of in a partner. She was kind and compassionate, with a heart as big as the sky and a smile that could light up even the darkest of rooms. She was smart and funny, with a quick wit and a sharp mind that kept me on my toes and challenged me in all the best ways. And most of all, she understood me, understood the pain and the heartbreak that I had been through, the scars that I carried with me from my past. She accepted me for who I was, flaws and all, and loved me with a depth and a passion that I had never known before. As the months turned into years, Emma and I grew closer and closer, building a life together that was filled with love and laughter, with joy and adventure, and all the things that made life worth living. We traveled the world together, exploring new places and cultures, learning and growing in ways that I had never thought possible. We spent long evenings talking and laughing, sharing our hopes and our dreams, our fears and our doubts. And through it all, I felt a sense of contentment and peace that I had never known before, a deep and abiding happiness that filled every corner of my being. But even as I savored the joy and the love of my new life with Emma, I couldn't shake the sense of unfinished business that lingered in the back of my mind, the feeling that there was still one more thing that I needed to do, one more wrong that I needed to right. And that thing, I knew, was my relationship with Samantha. It had been years since I had last seen my daughter. Years since the bitter court battle that had torn our family apart. In all that time, I had never once reached out to her. Had never once tried to mend the rift that had grown between us. I had told myself that it was for the best, that Samantha had made her choices, and that I had to respect them, even if I couldn't understand or condone them. But deep down, I knew that it was more than that my own pride and stubbornness had played a role in keeping us apart. And now, as I looked back on my life, on the long and winding road that had brought me to this moment, I knew that I couldn't let things end like this, that I couldn't let my own daughter become a stranger to me, a ghost from my past that haunted my every waking moment. And so, with a heavy heart and a sense of trepidation, I picked up the phone and dialed Samantha's number, my fingers trembling as I punched in the digits that I had once known by heart. The call went to voicemail, and for a moment, I almost lost my nerve, almost hung up the phone and walked away from the whole thing. But something stopped me, some deep and primal instinct that told me that this was a chance that I couldn't let slip away, a moment that would define the rest of my life. And so, taking a deep breath and steeling myself for whatever lay ahead, I left a message, my voice shaking with emotion as I spoke the words that I had been holding back for so long. "Samantha," I said, my throat tight with tears. "It's your father. I know it's been a long time, and I know that things between us have been difficult, to say the least. But I want you to know that I'm sorry, that I never meant for things to turn out the way they did. I know that I can't change the past, can't undo the hurt and the anger that we've both carried with us for so long. But I want to try, Samantha. I want to find a way to move forward, to build a new relationship based on love and understanding, not on bitterness and resentment. And so, if you're willing, if you're ready to take that first step, I'd like to meet with you, to talk things through and see if we can't find a way to heal all the wounds that have divided us for so long. I know it won't be easy, but I also know that it's worth it, that the love and the bond that we once shared is too precious to let slip away. Please, Samantha, give me a chance to make things right, to be the father that you always deserved. I promise that I won't let you down, that I'll do everything in my power to earn your trust and your forgiveness. I love you, sweetheart. And no matter what happens, no matter where this road takes us, I want you to know that I always will. That's a promise that I'll keep, now and forever." And with that, I hung up the phone, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope, of uncertainty and determination. I knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, that there would be obstacles and challenges at every turn. But I also knew that it was a road that I had to travel, a journey that I had to take if I ever hoped to find the peace and the healing that I so desperately craved. And so, with a deep breath and a sense of purpose, I stepped out into the world, ready to face whatever lay ahead with courage and grace, with the strength and the wisdom of a man who had lived a life of purpose and meaning. For I was Albert Reed, a father, a fighter, a man who had learned to find the beauty and the hope in even the darkest of times. And as long as I had the love and the support of those who mattered most, as long as I had the fire and the passion that had always driven me forward, I knew that there was nothing I could not overcome, no dream that I could not make real. And that, in the end, was the greatest gift of all, the most precious treasure that any man could ever hope to claim. Please let me know if you would like me to proceed with Chapter 5 or the epilogue, or if you have any feedback on Chapter 4. Retry N. You are great. Continue Chapter 5. Edit. Chapter 5. The days and weeks that followed were a blur of activity and emotion, a whirlwind of hope and fear, of uncertainty and possibility. I threw myself into the task of reconnecting with Samantha, of building a new relationship based on love and understanding, rather than on anger and resentment. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I felt like giving up, when the weight of the past seemed too heavy to bear. But I refused to let myself be defeated, refused to let the mistakes and the misunderstandings of yesterday define the course of tomorrow. And so, day after day, I reached out to Samantha, sending her messages and emails, leaving voicemails and texts. I told her about my life, about the changes I had made, and the lessons I had learned. I shared my hopes and my dreams, my fears and my regrets, opening myself up to her in a way that I had never done before. At first, there was only silence, a cold and unresponsive void that seemed to stretch out into eternity. But I refused to give up, refused to let myself be discouraged by the lack of response. I knew that Samantha was hurting, that she had her own demons to battle and her own wounds to heal. And so I kept reaching out, kept extending the hand of friendship and forgiveness, even when it seemed like all hope was lost. And then, one day, a miracle happened. It was a warm and sunny afternoon, the kind of day that seemed to promise new beginnings and fresh starts. I was sitting in my study, working on a case, when I heard a knock at the door. I stood up, my heart pounding with anticipation, and made my way to the front of the house. And there, standing on the porch, was Samantha, her face a mix of apprehension and hope, of fear and longing. For a moment, we just stood there, staring at each other in silence, neither of us quite sure what to say or do. But then, slowly, tentatively, I reached out and pulled her into a hug, feeling the warmth and the solidity of her body against mine. And in that moment, as I held my daughter in my arms for the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace and completeness wash over me, a deep and abiding joy that filled every corner of my being. We talked for hours that day, sitting on the porch and sipping iced tea, sharing stories and memories, laughter and tears. We spoke of the past, of the mistakes and the misunderstandings that had torn us apart, and of the future, of the hopes and the dreams that we both held dear. And through it all, I could feel the walls between us beginning to crumble, the barriers of anger and resentment slowly giving way to a new sense of connection and understanding. It wasn't perfect, and there were still wounds that needed to heal and truths that needed to be spoken. But it was a start, a beginning, a chance to build something new and beautiful out of the ashes of the past. In the weeks and months that followed, Samantha and I continued to work on our relationship, spending time together and learning to communicate in new and healthier ways. We went on walks and had dinners, explored new hobbies and interests, and slowly but surely began to rebuild the bond that had once been the foundation of our lives. It wasn't always easy, and there were times when old wounds threatened to reopen and old resentments threatened to resurface. But we refused to let them define us, refused to let the past dictate the course of our future. And through it all, I could feel myself growing and changing in ways that I had never thought possible, discovering new depths of love and compassion, new reserves of strength and resilience. I began to see the world through different eyes, to understand the struggles and the challenges that Samantha had faced, the demons that she had battled, and the obstacles that she had overcome. And I began to see my own life in a new light, to understand the choices and the sacrifices that I had made, the triumphs and the failures that had shaped me into the man I was today. And as the years passed and the seasons changed, I found myself settling into a new rhythm of life, a new way of being that was both familiar and strange all at once. I was still the same man I had always been, still driven by the same passions and values that had always guided me. But I was also different, changed in ways that I could never have imagined, transformed by the love and the forgiveness that had brought me back to my daughter, back to the family that had always been the center of my world. And now, as I look back on my life, on the long and winding road that has brought me to this moment, I feel a sense of gratitude and wonder wash over me, a deep and abiding joy that fills every corner of my being. I have been blessed with a second chance, a new beginning, a chance to build something beautiful and lasting out of the ashes of the past. And I know that no matter what challenges may lie ahead, no matter what storms we may have to weather, we will face them together, as a family, as a testament to the power of love and forgiveness to heal all, even the deepest wounds. For I am Albert Reed, a father, a friend, a man who has learned the hard way that the greatest legacy we can leave behind is the love and the compassion that we show to others, the difference that we make in the world around us. And as long as I have breath in my body and fire in my soul, I will continue to strive and to serve, to give back to the world that has given me so much, to be the best version of myself that I can be. for that is the true meaning of success, the only wealth that really matters in the end. And it is a wealth that I intend to share with all those whose lives I touch, whose hearts I have the privilege to know. And so, with a smile on my face and a song in my heart, I step out into the world, ready to embrace the future that lies ahead, to face whatever challenges and adventures may come my way. For I know that I am not alone, that I have the love and the support of those who matter most, the family and the friends who have always been my rock and my anchor. And I know that together, there is nothing we cannot achieve, no dream that we cannot make real, no mountain that we cannot climb. For we are the Reeds, a family forged in the fire of adversity and tempered by the power of love. And as long as we hold fast to the values that have always guided us, as long as we continue to strive and to serve and to give of ourselves freely and without reservation, then I know that the best is yet to come, that the future is ours to shape and to mold as we see fit. And that, in the end, is the greatest adventure of all, the most precious gift that any man could ever hope to give or to receive. So let us go forth with courage and with faith, with the strength and the wisdom of those who have gone before us. For the road ahead is long and the journey is uncertain, but the destination is worth every step, every sacrifice, every moment of pain and struggle and triumph. And together, hand in hand, heart to heart, we will find our way home, to the place where we truly belong, the place where love and laughter and joy reign supreme, now and forevermore. Epilogue. It has been 10 years since that fateful day when Samantha first knocked on my door, 10 years since the journey of healing and forgiveness first began. And in that time, so much has changed, so much has grown and flourished and come to fruition. Our family has expanded and evolved, welcoming new members and celebrating new milestones with each passing year. Samantha has found love and happiness with a wonderful man named Mark, a kind and compassionate soul who has brought so much light and laughter into our lives. Together, they have given me 3 beautiful grandchildren, little bundles of joy and energy that fill my days with wonder and my heart with love. And I have watched with pride and amazement as they have grown and learned and discovered the world around them, each one a unique and precious gift, a reflection of the best that life has to offer. My work, too, has continued to thrive and prosper, growing and evolving in ways that I never could have imagined. I have taken on new cases and new causes, using my skills and my expertise to fight for those who have been wronged, to seek justice and truth in a world that so often seems to be lacking in both. And through it all, I have had the love and the support of my beloved Emma, the woman who has been my rock and my anchor, my partner in every sense of the word. Together, we have built a life of purpose and meaning, a life filled with love and laughter, with joy and adventure, and all the things that make life worth living. But perhaps the greatest change of all has been the one that has taken place within my own heart, the quiet revolution that has transformed the way I see myself and the world around me. I have learned to let go of the anger and the resentment that once consumed me, to embrace the power of forgiveness and compassion in all that I do. I have learned to cherish the moments of joy and beauty that life brings, to find meaning and purpose in the simple act of living each day to the fullest. And I have learned to love with an open heart and an open mind, to give of myself freely and without reservation, knowing that it is in giving that we truly receive. And now, as I sit here in the twilight of my years, surrounded by the warmth and the love of my family and friends, I can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude and wonder for the incredible journey that has been my life. I have known great sorrow and great joy, have faced challenges and triumphs that have tested me to my very limits. But through it all, I have remained true to myself, have held fast to the values and the principles that have always guided me. And I know that, no matter what the future may bring, no matter what storms I may have to weather in the years ahead, I will always have this moment, this perfect, shining example of what it means to be alive, to be human, to be part of something greater than myself. For I am Albert Reed, a father, a friend, a man who has lived a life of purpose and meaning, a life that has touched and inspired countless others along the way. And as long as my story is remembered, as long as my legacy endures, then I know that my spirit will live on, that the love and the wisdom that I have shared will continue to ripple out into the world, changing lives and transforming hearts for generations to come. And that, in the end, is the greatest gift of all, the most precious treasure that any man could ever hope to leave behind. So let us go forth with joy and with hope, with the courage and the strength of those who have weathered life's storms and emerged stronger and wiser for the journey. Let us cherish the moments of grace and beauty that surround us, the love and the laughter that fill our days with meaning and purpose. And let us never, ever forget the power of forgiveness and compassion, the incredible capacity of the human heart to heal all and to grow, no matter how great the wound or how deep the pain. For that is the true magic of this life that we have been given, and it is a magic that lives within each and every one of us, waiting only for the chance to be unleashed upon the world. So let us go forth with love and with light, with the wisdom and the grace of those who have gone before us. For the best is yet to come, and the road ahead is full of promise and possibility, a journey that we are all called to take, a destiny that we are all meant to fulfill. And together, hand in hand, heart to heart, we will find our way home, to the place where we truly belong, the place where love and laughter and joy reign supreme, now and forevermore. Thank you, my friends, for being a part of my story, for sharing in the laughter and the tears, the triumphs and the trials of this incredible adventure that we call life. And may the love and the light that guide us never fade. May the hope and the joy that fill our hearts never cease to shine. For we are all one family, one community, one human race, bound together by the unbreakable bonds of love and compassion, of kindness and grace. And as long as we hold fast to that truth, as long as we continue to strive and to serve and to give of ourselves freely and without reservation, then I know that there is nothing we cannot achieve, no dream that we cannot make real, no life that we cannot touch and transform. For the best is yet to come, and the future is ours to shape, a world of endless possibility and boundless hope, a legacy of love and light that will endure long after we are gone. So let us go forth with courage and with faith, with the strength and the wisdom of those who have gone before us. For the road ahead is long and the journey is uncertain, but the destination is worth every step, every sacrifice, every moment of pain and struggle and triumph. And together, hand in hand, heart to heart, we will find our way home, to the place where we truly belong, the place where love and laughter and joy reign supreme, now and forevermore. Thank you, and may the blessings of life be with you always, in all that you do, and in all that you are. CTA. If you found Albert's story of redemption and the power of forgiveness inspiring, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting tales of everyday heroes making a difference in the world. And don't forget to share your own experiences and reflections in the comments below. We all have a story to tell, a lesson to learn, a legacy to leave. By sharing our journeys and our truths, we inspire and uplift each other, and we create a world that is a little brighter, a little more beautiful, a little more full of hope and possibility. So keep shining your light, my friends. Keep loving and forgiving. Keep striving and serving. Keep being the best version of yourself that you can be. For the world needs more heroes like Albert Reed, more everyday champions of compassion and grace, of courage and strength in the face of life's challenges. And together, we can build a future that is worthy of our highest aspirations and our deepest dreams. A world where love and kindness reign supreme, and where every heart is free to sing its own unique song. So let us go forth with joy and with purpose, with the knowledge that we are all part of something greater than ourselves, a tapestry of stories and experiences that stretches across the ages and around the globe. For the best is yet to come, and the journey ahead is full of wonder and possibility, a chance to make our mark on the world and leave it a little better than we found it. And as long as we hold fast to the values of love and compassion, of forgiveness and grace, then I know that there is nothing we cannot achieve, no dream that we cannot make real, no life that we cannot touch and transform. So let us go forth with courage and with faith, with the strength and the wisdom of those who have gone before us. For the road ahead is long, but the rewards are great, and the destination is worth every step, every sacrifice, every moment of pain and struggle and triumph. And together, hand in hand, heart to heart, we will find our way home, to the place where we truly belong, the place where love and laughter and joy reign supreme, now and forevermore. Thank you, and may the light of love guide you always, in all that you do and in all that you are.